thought I would be inspired by a friend and just turn the camera on and see what comes. I just got back from the garden centre with my mom, and I bought myself a rose bush, and I was like, which one shall I get? And I saw one called Othello. I just wanted to talk a little bit about this speech of Iago. I looked up online to see if I could find somebody doing this speech. I found a couple of good versions of it. One was Kenneth Branagh and the other was some black guy that I don't know playing Iago. But then I found this one guy and I thought, oh, I watched it, I had to turn it off. And it amazes me because there were loads of comments underneath saying that was the most superlative, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that is exactly the kind of Shakespeare acting that I can't stand. It's when somebody uses Shakespeare to masturbate. And that's what this boy was doing. He was acting. He was acting and using the verse rather than serving the verse. I have my opinions, you see. So I'm just going to read this little bit where he's talking to Rodrigo about the fact that Rodrigo is crazy for Desdemona, wants Desdemona, but of course she's married Othello. And Iago's like, don't worry about it, we'll sort it. So Rodrigo says, Iago, what sayest thou, noble heart? What will I do, thinkest thou? Why, go to bed and sleep. I will incontinently drown myself. Well, if thou doest, I shall never love thee after. Why, thou silly fellow? It is silliness to live, when to live is a torment. Then Iago says, O villainous, I ha' looked upon the world for 4 times 7 years, and since I could distinguish between a benefit and an injury, I never found a man that knew how to love himself. Ere I would say that I would drown myself for the love of a guinea hen, I would change my humanity with a baboon. What should I do? I confess it is my shame to be so fond, but it is not in my virtue to amend it. Virtue? A fig. And when I was reading that, I thought, oh, these days the word virtue is used a lot, isn't it, around virtue signalling? And there's been many a time this last year where I've thought, oh, what is it about that really is just like, ugh. And somebody's usually said, oh, this is virtue signaling. One of the biggest virtue signals of the moment is friends on Facebook with masks on, with a nurse standing at the side of them injecting them. They're all virtue signaling. Evil that he does in the play is, it's not just simply the fact that he believes Othello has slept with his wife. It's a rumour and it's an excuse, really. Cassio has been given this job that he thinks he should have got. And this guy was saying a really good thing about that, because he was like, I don't see him as particularly ambitious, but that he has this sense of superiority as a human being. He feels that he is pretty superior to most people, especially people who, like Othello, are trusting and honest. He thinks they're just fools. That reminds me of really a lot of things that are going on right now, which is that you know, this whole thing that's going down around this so-called pandemic. If it is a plandemic, which I think it is, then the people who are planning it have got this kind of superiority thing that he has, and he also talks about Iago having incredible willpower. For him to choose, rather than give in to choose to go ahead and cause all this destruction. He's got so much self-control that he just doesn't do that. He wouldn't do that. But something must have tipped him over the edge to do it. So in this regard, he thinks that it's to do with these things that have happened have kind of been such a, the Cassio thing and the potentially the wife thing. And he already didn't like Othello. He already thought he was low life because he's so honest and trusting. Tripped him over into this malevolent, I'm going for it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to destroy him at all costs, because it was such an affront to his pride in himself as a superior being. And then this guy talks about how he then takes great pleasure in it. In fact, it's so exciting for him to see this now playing out. He's really enjoying it. It's just like he's getting high on it. He knows exactly how to steer the boat towards the destination, and he's getting high on how good he is at it. Makes you wonder whether that might be going on with some of these so-called controllers, watching people be so stupid and trusting, believing what they're told, no matter how ludicrous it is. You can just imagine them all just like getting high on how successful they are at, just feeding this shit to people. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about as well was the truth community, how I have really looking into that pretty addictively for the last year because of the fact that I was like seeing that these lies that we fed were lies, and I just kind of woke up to it. So, but the same thing I'm finding out on the truth community side is that they are the same as Iago in some ways, in that they think they are superior to all the people who believe the shit too. So we've not only got the potential controller Iago class going, you stupid fools, we've also got the truth community calling people sheeple and, you God, these stupid sheeple. And I'm not saying that they're evil with that. I mean, I suppose really they're not like an Iago, the truther community. Some of them, like David Icke and Russell Brand and John Lash and people like that, and some of the people that I've been following, Matt of Quantum of Conscience, may very well be put there to be controlled opposition. That's got Iago written all over it to me. Anyway, let's just look at this one speech. Virtue, a fig. Then he goes, "'Tis in ourselves that we are thus, or thus. Our bodies are gardens, to the which our wills are gardeners." Our wills are gardeners. "So that if we will plant nettles, or sow lettuce, set hyssop, and weed up thyme, supply it with one gender of herbs, or distract it with many, either to have it sterile with idleness, or manured with industry, why the power and corrigible authority of this lies in our wills." It's up to us how we tend to our garden ourselves. If the balance of our lives had not one scale of reason to poise another of sensuality, the blood and baseness of our natures would conduct us to most preposterous conclusions. But we have reason to cool our raging motions, our carnal stings, our unbitted lusts, whereof I take this that you call love to be a sect or a scion. Now, this is a man who knows what it's like to be human. He's a thinker, and he has a philosophy, which I don't think Othello and a lot of people, this is where somebody who's got the awareness, the awakeness, to see. Not everybody's like that. Not everybody is reflective. Not everybody has an inner life. Not everybody knows that you can have an inner life. It took me growing up in the family that I grew up in, which was all acting out, all about showtime. Woo, wah, ha, ha, ha. I didn't know about inner life, I probably was somebody who did notice things. I was very perceptive, and it was only as the years went by and life didn't work and I was getting in one mess after another that I started to, try and sort myself out. And that's when I developed an inner life. That speech is amazing, isn't it? That we are the gardeners of ourselves, and whatever we plant in our garden is up to us. Whatever we focus on is up to us. Whatever we are interested in is up to us. We can do anything. And that's because we have will. We have a will. And if we don't balance, if the balance of our lives had not one scale of reason, if we didn't have that reason to balance things out, we would be doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But we have reason to cool our raging motions, our unbitted lusts. And interesting that this is right at the beginning of the play that he says this, because he gives into this in this play. He knows this, and this is how he normally lives. He watches people, observes how people give in to their lusts, and he knows that he's got extreme self-control and strong will. But then this is his time to be somebody with an unbitted lust towards destruction. Is that what's going on in the world right now? I don't know. Feels like it. They're talking now about another mutation. Will we be in lockdown again this winter? Are these people, these Iagos, are they going to push it further because they know they can, because people are just believing them? What kind of things are going to, how much more can they throw at people? How much more trusting of this are other people going to be? When will they wake up? Othello didn't.